Hey, morning. How's everybody this morning? I hope great. For me, Monday, I'm actually quite grateful that it's Monday. I'm quite grateful that all these flipping holidays are over. It's another phenomenally beautiful day here in Johannesburg. And, I'm ready. I'm ready to take it on. I'm ready to take the week on. I'm ready to serve God hard this week. Ready to continue my studies hard this week. Ready to fight the devil hard this week at the rehab center. So, but over the weekend I've had a lot of time to do a lot of watching of other podcasts and things. And over the last, I would say, 6 months, I've been following a lot of Advocate Ike Kumalo stuff. I've been following quite a bit of Penwell, the Swart Pen stuff, and I've been even following Nota, the guy that said all those derogatory things. But having said that, I didn't want to just judge a guy by one thing that he said. I wanted to see what this guy's views were. So I've been following a lot of that stuff. I also follow the other side of the equation, the AfriForum, Solidariteit, and all of that stuff. But, I don't know. It just leads me to a dichotomy and in my thoughts of what's happening. Yesterday Penwell put up a video and I've been looking for it again now. But he said a couple of things that I wanted to comment on, in terms of, firstly, in terms of the history and the past of the country and so on and so forth. And then, in terms of the government's ability to run the country up to now. So the reality is this is what he said, we just expect everyone to give up and stop thinking about, apartheid's in the past, it's finished, it's done. Well, on that note, I agree with him, I really do. Has anyone asked the Jews to forget about the Holocaust? Have they? You know what I mean? 6 million Jews killed in the space of, let's say, 5 years in the Second World War, and put into Auschwitz and these places. Do we just tell Jews, all right, forget about that, eh? Let's move on, bro. Forget about it. Now think about a group of people, who's, who were living on a continent only to be invaded by hundreds of thousands and millions of people from a different continent. Were then used over a period of 300 years, as labor and, put on ships and taken to other continents, forced into labor, separated from their children. In terms of our own thing here in South Africa, police force, army running around, keeping people in certain areas under the Group Areas Act, all that stuff that happened. I don't want to go into it. For those of us that were there, I was there. I was a cop. I know what happened, bro. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. And in many times was a participant, But thank God that, I became enlightened. And my mother played a big role in that, even though after her death, she played a big role in that. Because I started thinking about it, I used to say, oh, they're terrorists. And then she said, if you were living like them, you'd be the worst terrorist. But it turned out almost true. And then the other part was on the running of the country. And this is what I want to say. You expect people after 94 to walk into and run a country who've had no experience in running a country, for 200 or 300 years, prior to apartheid, then the 50 years of apartheid or 40 years of apartheid. These people were given a substandard opportunities to learn the jobs that are required as civil engineers and nuclear physicists and these types of jobs and vocations and skills, boiler makers, all the stuff that you need to build a society, and then said, right, well, here it is, bro. And what I also agree with Penwell is, from then till now, the current dispensation hasn't done anything to educate these people technically, and now we can't understand why things are falling apart. And I also agree with him. I was watching Waza the other day, And he said this, he says, you know, you can't just tell people to flip and go and you don't have anyone to replace them. You know, and this is where we're at. You know, the people that could go have gone. You know, there are still some here that can go, that haven't gone, that love their country, that are patriotic, that want to make this thing work. But the people that have gone, no one has replaced them. No one has replaced them. You know, we haven't technically replaced them. You know, we've broken down all the apartheid structures and there's nothing's been put in place. You know, when I say the apartheid structures, the guys that had the qualifications, they were the white guys, you know, because of white privilege. Yeah, I get it. But they were still, they had the guys that were able to train the new guys. And the new guys came in and they weren't interested in being trained. They just wanted to earn the salaries without the training. And that's why we act. So I agree with you, Penwell. I really do. And then I watched a lot of Notice stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff where the young man is pretty confused. But I want to tell you this, that guy is highly educated. He knows history, and a lot of what he says bears a lot of merit. So I would encourage you, go have a look. Go and have a look at the things that he says. And, you know, and if you're an honest individual and something he says triggers you, you know, have a look. Maybe there's merit in being triggered, eh? All right. But other than that, have a fantastic week. I'm going to do a little podcast today. I'm going to try go into these things a bit more. I'll go on a podcast. I'll put my podcast up for about an hour later today. And then I'll hammer it out. Lekker. God bless. Cheers, man. Love you, South Africa.